The billionaire woman walked into the mansion wearing a faded maid's uniform, carrying a bucket in one hand and a small suitcase in the other, determined to discover whether anyone could love her without knowing her fortune. She had spent years watching men smile at her money instead of her heart, so this time she decided to hide everything. But on her very first day as a maid, she accidentally met the one man who treated her with kindness without asking who she was. What happened next would force her to choose between the life she had built and the love she had secretly been searching for. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and love that goes beyond money, please like this video, share it with someone who needs a little hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to spread kindness. Your support helps us continue creating emotional stories that remind us that genuine kindness still matters. Sophia Bennett was 34 years old and worth more money than she could count. She was the owner of a successful luxury hotel company that had been built by her father and expanded under her leadership. Business magazines called her brilliant, powerful, and unstoppable. People recognized her everywhere. Men approached her at expensive restaurants, private events, and business meetings, but Sophia had slowly developed a painful suspicion that many of them weren't interested in her at all. They were interested in the lifestyle that came with her name. Her last relationship had ended when she discovered that the man she planned to marry had been secretly discussing her inheritance with his friends. He had told people that marrying Sophia would guarantee him a comfortable future. When she confronted him, he didn't apologize for using her. Instead, he accused her of being too suspicious and walked away. That night, Sophia sat alone in her enormous penthouse and realized she had everything except the one thing money could never purchase, certainty that someone loved her for who she really was. So she created a plan. Sophia temporarily handed control of her company to her trusted business manager and rented a modest apartment under a different name. She found work as a live-in housekeeper at a large family-owned estate outside the city. She wore simple clothing, removed her expensive jewelry, tied her long dark brown hair into a plain bun, and promised herself she would tell no one about her wealth. The estate belonged to Richard Hale, a 52-year-old widower who had once been successful in construction but now spent most of his time raising his 20-year-old daughter, Lily. Richard had a reputation for being strict and private, but Sophia quickly discovered that he wasn't cruel. He simply carried a great deal of grief. His wife had died several years earlier, and since then, he had devoted himself almost completely to his daughter. Sophia expected the household to treat her like invisible staff. Instead, she noticed something unusual about Richard. He always thanked workers. He never raised his voice at the gardeners. He made sure the kitchen staff ate before the family did during large events. And whenever Sophia struggled with something, he helped without making her feel embarrassed. One rainy morning, Sophia was carrying several heavy boxes toward the storage room when one slipped from her hands. The contents scattered across the floor. She expected Richard to complain because she had accidentally damaged some expensive decorations. Instead, he immediately came over, helped her gather everything, and quietly told her that no object in the mansion was more important than a person getting hurt. Sophia couldn't stop thinking about those words. For the first time in years, someone had shown her kindness without knowing she could reward him for it. But life in disguise wasn't easy. Sophia had never spent an entire day cleaning floors, washing clothes, preparing meals, and carrying heavy supplies. Her hands became rough. Her back ached. She often went to bed exhausted. Yet strangely, she began enjoying the simplicity. Nobody cared about her stock portfolio or her company's annual revenue. They simply knew her as Sophie, the quiet maid who worked hard. As the weeks passed, Richard and Sophia grew closer. They talked during quiet evenings in the kitchen. He told her about his late wife and how difficult it had been to raise Lily alone. Sophia shared small pieces of her own life without revealing her identity. She told him that she had once trusted someone deeply and had been hurt. Richard never judged her. Lily also became attached to Sophia. She noticed that Sophia wasn't like the other employees who had come and gone. Sophia listened to her worries, helped her prepare for job interviews, and encouraged her to believe she could build a life independent of her father's wealth. But Sophia's secret eventually became dangerous. One afternoon, a business executive from Sophia's company unexpectedly arrived at the estate looking for her. Sophia recognized him immediately and hid before he could see her. He told Richard that Sophia Bennett had disappeared from public life and that the company was searching for her. Richard didn't suspect anything. That night, Sophia realized she couldn't keep the truth hidden forever. Then everything changed during a charity dinner at the estate. Sophia was serving food when a guest recognized her face from an old magazine article. He stared at her in disbelief and loudly called her Sophia Bennett. The entire room froze. Richard looked at her as though the floor had disappeared beneath him. The truth finally came out. Sophia wasn't a maid. She was the billionaire owner of one of the country's largest hotel companies. Richard felt betrayed, not because she was wealthy, but because she had tested him without telling him. Sophia tried to explain that she hadn't wanted to deceive him for fun. She had simply been terrified of being loved for the wrong reasons again. She expected him to walk away. Instead, Richard asked her one question that she would remember for the rest of her life: whether the kindness between them had been real. Sophia realized that it had. She had entered the mansion pretending to be someone else because she wanted to discover whether a man could love an ordinary woman. But Richard had never fallen in love with her uniform. He had fallen in love with her patience, humor, compassion, and the way she treated his daughter. Richard admitted that he had been hurt by the lie, but he also understood why she had been afraid. Sophia offered to leave. Richard didn't stop her immediately. He told her that if they were ever going to build something real, it couldn't begin with another secret. She agreed. Months passed. Sophia returned to her company, but she changed the way she lived. She stopped hiding behind luxury and began spending more time supporting community projects and employees who needed opportunities. Richard continued running his smaller construction business, refusing to accept money simply because Sophia was wealthy. Their relationship grew slowly, without expensive gifts or glamorous parties. They cooked together. They visited Lily's new apartment. They argued sometimes and apologized when they were wrong. They learned each other's weaknesses instead of pretending they didn't exist. One evening, Sophia returned to the estate and saw the old maid's uniform hanging in a closet. She smiled. That uniform had once represented a desperate attempt to find love. Now it represented something completely different. It reminded her that true love wasn't found by pretending to be poor, rich, powerful, or helpless. It was found when two people were brave enough to see each other honestly. Sophia had spent years believing she needed to hide her wealth to discover whether someone could love her. In the end, she learned something far more important. The right person wouldn't love her because she was a billionaire. And they wouldn't love her because she pretended to be a maid. They would love her because she was Sophia. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes genuine love still exists, and subscribe to spread kindness. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people who may need a reminder that kindness and honesty can change lives. Before we reach the final moment, leave this special comment: true love sees the person, not the fortune. Sophia never forgot the lesson she learned while wearing that simple uniform. She had entered the mansion searching for someone who wouldn't love her money, but she left with something more valuable than any fortune: a relationship built on honesty, patience, kindness, and trust. Because sometimes, the greatest test of love isn't hiding your wealth. It's finding someone who stays after they discover the truth.